I had made a short talking about Hirayasumi, but after making the video, I felt kind of empty. While the minute-long format is great for certain topics, I felt as though I wasn't doing this manga any justice by briefly talking about one of the many parts that touched me while I read it. I'm not kidding when I say Hirayasumi gave me healing. It made me question what is important in my life, but most importantly, it made me reaffirm my own passions. So for those that have watched my short, thank you, but let me reintroduce you to Hirayasumi. Hirayasumi is a slice-of-life manga written by Keigo Shinzo, following the day-to-day life of our protagonist Hiroto Ikuda, a rather carefree individual that doesn't have what would be considered a normal job, a love life, and no real worries about his future. While this premise itself didn't exactly sell me on the manga, I was basically told,
Listen, I know I'm not doing a good job selling you on this, but it's good. Trust me.
And who am I to doubt the guy that recommended me other bangers like Sakamoto Days? And yeah, this manga is really good. If I was to talk about the specific points of the series, it's that the pacing is fantastic, nothing ever seems to drag on for too long, and the art is stylized in a way that makes the characters approachable. These of course are staple points that every slice of life manga should have, but out of all the slice of life mangas that I've read, which admittedly isn't many, Hirayasumi I think does it the best. While ambitiousless characters are hard to relate to, Hiroto gives us a glimpse that I think adults my age all kind of crave in their lives: absolute freedom. It's our own projection onto Hiroto that gives people my age, old, someone to live vicariously through. And while that would have been enough, Hiroto is also just an overall great human being, doing things for others with no strings attached. That just adds that cherry on top. I do think my favorite trait that Hiroto is able to show us is his ability to never hold on to his anger. While moments like not having hot water because of a faulty boiler would make me upset, Hiroto is able to quickly go past these moments and just let go, focusing on what he can do in the moment. But while Hiroto is a hopeful glimpse for us, the other characters end up being mirrors to our own lives. His niece that comes to live with him, Kobayashi Natsumi, is an aspiring artist that comes from the countryside to Tokyo in hopes to achieve her dreams. Her passion lies in drawing manga, but she's too scared to openly show her passions out into the public and even tell her parents about how she wants to become a mangaka when she finishes college. In a way, Natsumi ends up being a reflection of ourselves and how we show people who we are on the outside while hiding the things that we're passionate about on the inside in an attempt to fit into the norm. As you probably guessed, her arc is usually filled with becoming more and more comfortable with herself and finding her own voice through the support of both her friends and family members, which then translates directly into the manga that she's making. Perhaps it's a subtle way of telling us to embrace what makes us happy. Of course, she has the direct support of the people that surround her, and not everyone has that privilege, but I think it's a simple way of telling us to not lose sight of what makes us happy. So while this scene where Natsumi tells her parents about her dreams and ambitions is supposed to be a happy one, and it most definitely is, as her passion gets accepted by her parents, it was particularly tough for me to get through. I, for the most part, have parents that did want the best for me. Therefore, it wasn't easy convincing them that I too wanted to study art while I was in college. And to be honest, I failed. I couldn't get a job coming out of school despite what I thought was a strong portfolio, but with the saturation in my field and the competitive nature of it all, I burnt out. I was running on empty, even taken advantage of, so I stopped. And while I would love to do things like creating videos full time, it's hard for me to open up to my parents about my small victories here on YouTube because of my previous failures. This of course is no hate to my parents, but rather my inability to open up to them about what really makes me happy. But also as an adult bumming around and going back to school, it's put me in a dilemma of sacrificing my happiness now for a chance to be happy again in the future. But at least by then, I'll at least have a future. Especially with all the sacrifices my parents had made moving here from South Korea to give my sister and I a chance that they could never have. Which I think is the reason why I think most people my age can relate to another reoccurring character, Hideki Noguchi, and to an extent Yomogi Tachibana. While Tachibana is able to excel even in her burnt out state, it comes at the sacrifice of her health. Oftentimes she skips breakfast, drinks till she's drunk after work, but she's still considered great and at the top of her office, but that's the extent of her reach. She's burnt out but struggles to let things go, reflected in the state of her apartment, so she keeps chugging along. On the flip side, Hideki Noguchi, our main character's best friend, is also struggling with burnout, but because of the added pressure of having a child and a wife that he has to provide for, his anxiety and depression that comes from a job that doesn't even appreciate him leads him down a dark and destructive path. While ultimately Hiroto Ikuda's constant presence in his life leads him back and he quits his job for the sake of his mental health, these two character struggles are too real, and oftentimes in the moment people are never really able to get out of the moment, leading us further down into a path that we seemingly can't get out of. I find that young adults around my age are struggling with this as we take our first steps into adulthood, and the unbelievable expectation that we have on ourselves, it leads us to overwork ourselves and burning out. And if you're stuck in a place with what feels like there is no future or place to seek a better life for yourself, it leads to a life of stagnation and repetition, leading to further burnout. But the fact that we're not just working for ourselves in the moment, but for our future is what keeps us in this loop of unhappiness. And I'm glad Hirayasumi was able to give a voice to the vicious cycle that we put ourselves into. But that's why I find Hirayasumi to be such a good manga, and probably one of the best recommendations that I've gotten in the past year. It vocalized my inner struggles, helped me come to terms with them, and overall gave me healing. It helped me let go of things that I struggle with, and I'm not kidding when I say that after I read this manga, that I feel like I came out as a better person. So if you have not yet read Hirayasumi, I can't recommend this series enough. This has been JaeAIK, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time.